How's it going, everyone? Laughing here, and today I'm doing kind of a general impressions video for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I've spent most of my time in Mass Effect 1 and dabbled a little bit in Mass Effect 2, so I'm going to primarily talk about those two games, kind of my experience with that so far, a little bit about like what BioWare kind of told us they've improved and kind of how that panned out. So I'll be talking about all that here in this video. But before I get started, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It super helps the channel grow, and I would much appreciate it. So obviously one of the kind of big things that was kind of promised and really marketed for with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is a lot of the changes and improvements for Mass Effect 1, especially when it comes to graphics. And I gotta say, in a general sense, the graphics in Mass Effect 1 look much better. A huge improvement at the end of the day. I will say that there are some inconsistencies when it comes to some of the gameplay where it looks like they obviously kind of up-resed it, but they didn't really go back and polish it. Some like really nice looking big polygons, if that makes sense. Which I understand, you know, it's a fairly large game, so it is kind of harder to upscale everything, but I really wish there was a little bit more precise with that. It's not 100% consistent. It's not super immersion breaking, but it does kind of remind you that, hey, you are playing kind of an older game, you know, here and there. I will say some of the texture models that they brought in from the other games and upres look really good. One that really stands out to me that I actually saw a lot yesterday was kind of the lab coats, specifically like the one that Liara wears. It looks really good, and there's a lot of different characters that kind of wear the same or similar outfit. I just think it looks really good. Kind of a random thing to talk about, but in a general sense, it looks good. I guess I should kind of mention I am playing on PS4 Pro, so I'm not playing on PC, which I know you kind of more than likely to get the best experience over there. But at the end of the day, like, these games were made for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, of course PC with that too. And so I feel like I'm playing on a better than a base model kind of console. So I feel like if anything, I should be getting a very good kind of look of kind of what they did, because it's running on, you know, better than the PS4. And yeah, in a general sense, the graphics look good, but like I said, there are some inconsistencies. There are some kind of random graphical glitches here and there. I will say one thing I know that they really didn't do a lot of, and it's just so BioWare, is the hair. Come on, man. Like, BioWare, you had a shot to get rid of the whole BioWare hair thing. You kind of blew it. Yeah, I was kind of bummed in the character creator for Mass Effect 1. I was really hoping the hair was going to look a lot better, because that was one of the big things that I kind of remembered back when the games were out. Even back then, the hair didn't look that good. And it looks pretty much the same, just up-resed. So even like some of the newer hair pieces that they added kind of fall in the same thing. I think they look slightly better, but that's like the minority of kind of the hair that's available. So, and I figured I mention BioWare, if you want to update the hair in a future update, yes, please. But yeah, beyond that, the game looks really good. A lot of like kind of fake ray tracing here and there throughout the game, or well, shoot, what is it called? The lens flares. There we go. Lots of lens flares in there. A lot of light work has been done. I do appreciate all the light work that they did do in Mass Effect 1. I actually think it went a really long ways to make that game look more cinematic while not like having the film grain be like super heavy like in the original games, which I appreciate. I never really liked the film grain on any of the Mass Effect games, so I like that it can still have that cinematic look without looking like they're trying too hard, if that makes sense. Once again, same kind of deal. Once in a while, it's not all the time, but once in a while there is some kind of lighting inconsistencies where it actually looks really flat, and you know, your character's face is kind of washed out. So hopefully that can once again kind of be fixed in future updates. I think it honestly it will, but we'll kind of see. But I do kind of want to say that, you know, in a general sense, that yeah, sometimes the lighting is not 100%. I'd say it's like 95%. Just fantastic, and there's like a solid 5% where you'll notice. And I think kind of the bummer part of that is that, like, when it does kind of crop up, I do feel like it is pretty noticeable. Um, yeah, like I said, yeah, hopefully they'll kind of patch it later on. Let's see here. They did a lot of quality of life tweaks. I know one of the big ones was the Mako. I'm going to talk about the Mako a little bit later, but yeah, they did a lot of kind of quality of life stuff. They had railings in places where people were getting stuck, which thank you. Was it Pharaoh? So it's much harder to like jump off the the highway there. So that's good. But there's other stuff I kind of wish that they did that I think would have had more of an impact at the end of the day. I think for me, the big one is cover. I've died a lot in Mass Effect 1 just due to not having cover or like running to a cover and not snapping. I really wish that they really brought the cover from Mass Effect 2 and 3 over to Mass Effect 1. I think would have gone a really long way of making the game feel less old, because kind of the whole snap to cover thing just doesn't work very well. And yeah, I just wish it was something that they fixed or added. And I'll be honest, I don't think that's not something that they're going to update in the future. It's just going to be something that we have to deal with, but that is something I wish that they did. One thing that actually Mr. Maddie brought up, so I can't take credit for this, is I think he brought up the cover too, to be fair. But the power wheel when it comes in Mass Effect 1 compared to Mass Effect 2 and 3, there's no kind of quick buttons for any powers. Which I wish that they did, because it really does slow the combat down. I'm not playing on Insanity or anything like that. I'm playing on just Veteran. And yeah, I mean, I'm like, whenever I'm in a situation where like I'm facing a lot of enemies or it's kind of a tough fight, I'm constantly bringing up that power wheel, and it can kind of really slow down the fight. And, I'm also bringing up the wheel whenever I want to change weapons or want one of my companions to change weapons. So I'm like constantly bringing it up. And if they could have made it so I don't have to bring it up as much, it just would have made everything seem much, much smoother, which would have been nice. But I don't think that's something that they're going to fix. Once again, one of those things we're just going to have to deal with. I think more than likely for BioWare, that kind of fell into they wanted to stay true to the original release of Mass Effect 1, which I get, but I don't agree with, because it would have been a really nice quality of life thing for them to do, but they just wanted to get it out the door and get their money at the end of the day, which I don't fault them for. May that be known. I understand. So business works. I'm still very happy we had the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but yeah, it'd be something I would have liked. A lot of the sound design in Mass Effect 1 just sounds better in a general sense. That includes a lot of the voice acting. Sounds much more clean, which I really appreciate. There are some like random dialogues that like randomly sound like it just was ported from Mass Effect 1, or that wasn't cleaned up as well, which is not too often. And once again, and I find it mostly with the aliens. I know that they have kind of like a voice kind of filter, but it's like you'll hear, I think it's most obvious when it comes to aliens, because you can hear a very kind of clean alien voice, like a Turian as where I usually find it, like run into it the most. And then you'll talk to another Turian and it's just like, oh, it's kind of a weird thing here with the sound. But yeah, overall, especially with the weapons, like the sound is pretty sick. I like it. I just gotta say, just going back to Mass Effect 1, I've been finding a lot of stuff that I either didn't know about before, or I just didn't remember, or that's stuff that's completely new to me. It's been a lot of fun. I had no idea that you could even have like a Geth pulse rifle in the first game. I was pretty surprised by that. That was fun. Not a gun I'm gonna use, but either way, it was still pretty cool. So I will say, like, Mass Effect 1 is such a good game that really does stand the test of time in a lot of ways, which is awesome, especially when it comes to story, exploration, that sort of stuff. So I definitely appreciate that. Speaking of exploration, I gotta say the Mako feels much better. The only tweak I'd probably make with it is have it be a little bit heavier than what they have it already. That being said, I know that might kind of make it seem like they changed too much, which I honestly didn't get that impression with. To me, it felt like they just kind of tweaked the Mako to make it just better and more useful in a general sense, which is awesome. And then they were like, okay, we're good. It's usable. People aren't going to rip their hair out, which I appreciate. like I said before, if they could have made it a little bit heavier, I think it would have been a little bit nicer. But at the end of the day, I get why they didn't. One new nice thing with the Mako is the boosters, man. Oh my God. Thank you, whoever said let's put boosters on the back of this thing. It is a godsend. I use the boosters all the time. Pro tip, if you just hold the booster button down, you just keep going, man. It's great. Like, it'll stop and recharge, but then you go. If you want to get to point A to point B and you're not climbing a huge mountain, very, very helpful. Yeah, thank you to whoever did that. You're fantastic. One thing I've noticed though, and it's nothing that they could have fixed for the Legendary Edition. I at the very least, it's not something I would expect them to fix. But dude, some of those maps where you have to go and like fight the Geth outposts and find the probes, those maps sucked, dude. Like, they're horrible. Like, it doesn't matter what you're driving, everything's gonna feel like absolute crap on these planets. And I gotta say, whoever designed the planet Caspin, there's probably a special place in hell for you. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but fuck that planet. It's horrible. I hate it. That was by far the most egregious example. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up, find it in the game, what have you. You'll know what I mean. Like, basically, most of the planet is like mountains, and then in the mountains there's like dips going up. It's horrible. I hate it. I'm never gonna go on Caspin again. I don't care if there's a gun to my head. It's not happening, man. I have no idea how I did it in the original game without boosters. Dear God. But there are other planets that are somewhat similar to that. But Caspin, yeah, like I said, is the absolute worst with that. But in a general sense, though, Mako feels much better. I really appreciated what they did when it came to them making it better, more useful, less pull my hair out. So much appreciated with that. That is for sure. All right, let's talk about bugs. One of the big things that BioWare said is they are going to do a lot of bug squashing, a lot of legacy bugs, what have you. Which, when it comes to legacy bugs, I feel like they did a decent job from what I could tell with getting rid of them. That being said, I feel like there's new bugs that weren't in the original game. And they kind of sucked, to be honest with you. There's at least 2 or 3 times now where I was exploring on planets. And by the way, this is like all the ones I really experienced had to do with the Mako. So I'm just going to keep that in mind. Rather exploring with the Mako. But where I would get out of the Mako and I could not get back in. And the probe that I got out to survey, and it's always a probe, always is, I won't let me mess with. So I had to like die, reload, what have you. It was not fun, especially if it takes you 5 minutes to get to a probe and then you have to like reload your game. Kind of sucks. So I guess kind of word of warning, if you're going to a probe, you're in the Mako, save, then get out. Because it's pretty frustrating. And there's another time too where the Mako wheels got stuck to a mountain and just couldn't go anywhere. So I had to like reload and do like half a planet all over, which that wasn't very fun. So there are a few bugs with that. When it comes to like the exploration planets, the Mako, I know this is gonna be a little bit harder to kind of bug squash with that, but I am definitely going to make mention of it because it was pretty frustrating when it happened to me. And I feel like I have a decent tolerance for bugs. But yeah, that just kind of sucked. And there are also some like random like graphical bugs as well here and there. Like there'll just be times where I have like no pupils, or my character will have no pupils. And it's kind of creepy. It's funny, but it's kind of creepy. And there's also like a weird movement bug as well, where like my character was like doing like a cha-cha, like down the hallways at the Citadel. It was real weird. Like it was funny, but yeah, it just wasn't right. I haven't run into as many bugs since the last update, so I will throw that out there. I do think that the update did help squash some bugs. Hopefully that continues. But in a general sense, I still kind of want to report some of the bugs that I did run into. Like I said at the beginning, I did play a little bit of Mass Effect 2, but it wasn't a whole lot. It was like 2 missions, I want to say. Everything looked pretty good. Frame rates were good. No bugs that I noticed. So I'm really looking forward to playing through Mass Effect 2. That's probably my favorite RPG in the last 20 years. Which, yeah, I think KOTOR is more than 20 years old now. I think. right? Maybe not. Well, either way, Mass Effect 2 is still one of my favorites. Really good. So really looking forward to getting through that. All the DLCs there, so that'll be fun. I'm pretty sure I played all the DLC. At least I think I did. But regardless, that'll be good. And then Mass Effect 3 too. I have not touched yet, but really looking forward to playing mostly the DLC. Because that is something I did not really get to do a whole lot of when I first played Mass Effect 3. So really looking forward to going back through that game, kind of seeing the changes that the DLC had, and yeah, looking forward to it. So that should be good. Overall, I've been pretty happy with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition so far. I mean, it looks great, it plays great. There have been some really nice quality of life improvements. In some aspects, I still wish that they kind of went a little bit further, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I think there are some things that hopefully they'll kind of patch or update in the future, specifically with some of the more bugs or graphical inconsistencies. I think that they'll fix most of that at the very least, so that'll be good. But yeah, so far, I would say I would recommend snagging the game. Mass Effect 1, which definitely needed the most work, has been really a joy to play through again. You're getting 3 games for the price of 1 with pretty much all the DLC. Can't go wrong there. A lot of bang for your buck. So yeah, in general, I've been pretty impressed and happy I actually picked up the game. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting in the Mass Effect 2 and 3. That'll be fun. And if you actually want to watch me on my journey replaying these games, you can actually watch at twitch.tv/LaffingNinja. Link in the description down below. I stream once in a while the game. Right now, last night we beat Vermeer, so that was kind of cool. I think I'm gonna go to the moon next. So that'll be fun. But yeah, if you want to check that out, like I said, link in the description down below. Throw me a follow. It's free and would be much appreciated. And while you're at it, why don't you also subscribe to the channel and hit that like button for more content like this going forward. I do really hope that you enjoyed the video, you found it entertaining or informative or both. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Do something good for yourself. And as always, take care.